years and learned the patterns, which might sound good, but tech is a very male-dominated field. So the system concluded from its limited training data that men must be better applicants because they get offered more jobs, and that's not true. So if the problem is accuracy, then more data and more diverse data could help. In step 2, allocation, the model might be unfair, like Amazon's AI offered jobs mainly to men. So we just constrain what the model can do. For example, tell it that if 30% of applications come from women, 30% of jobs need to be offered to women too. If the problem is fairness, just tell the computer to be fairer, and we've done it. We've made ethical AI, and all it took was one bit of code. If evil, then don't. But maybe it's not that easy. Here's an ethical dilemma. Suppose we are building an AI to help a university decide which students should be offered scholarships based on their resumes. The university wants to save money by accurately predicting which students will achieve a certain grade level that represents a good use of funds. And suppose at this particular university that students of color drop out more than white students and are therefore more likely to represent a loss of scholarship money. The AI we build will learn that pattern. However, suppose that students of color drop out more because there's problems with faculty racism and lack of affordable housing and harassment by campus police. They do drop out at higher rates, and race is a predicting factor, but it's not their fault. So, should we alter the model to ignore race? That seems fair, but it would make step 1, prediction, less accurate, and undermine the purpose for which the university wants to use the AI. As for step 2, allocation, we could tell the model that if 30% of applications come from students of color, then 30% of offers need to go there too. If racism, then don't. But that would mean some scholarships get offered to students who really weren't the most likely to succeed, which again undermines the point of building it. And you might say, well, that doesn't matter, it's fairer that way. And personally, I'd agree with you. But now we're not talking about technology, we're talking about political philosophy. Because it turns out there's a trade-off between accuracy and the kind of society we should live in. And the trouble with that is, not everyone agrees what kind of society we should live in. This dilemma can come up a lot. Another example might be, if you search Google Images for CEO, should it show you pictures that accurately reflect most CEOs, which is to say, pictures of men, and therefore risk reinforcing sexist biases? Or should it show you images of the kind of world we want to live in, where CEOs of all genders are guillotined for their crimes? So okay, how to make ethical AI? We've got build it better, and there are some ideas there, but also some trade-offs. So maybe we also need police it better. AI can never be perfect, so when it goes wrong, we need to make sure that people have options. In the novel The Trial by Franz Kafka, the protagonist, Joseph K., is arrested, and as he moves through the criminal justice system, he's never told what crime he's accused of. The story is horrifying because Joseph is rendered powerless by the bureaucracy. He can't take action, and he can't even find out what action he could take until eventually he is executed and never told why. Philosopher Kate Vredenburg says that when AI goes wrong, it's like a Kafka novel. You get denied something and you don't know why. And if you don't know, you can't improve. If your resume gets rejected by the recruitment AI that doesn't give you any feedback, you can't write a better resume next time. Not only does that make you powerless, she says it'll probably undermine people's trust in institutions that use AI, which could be a big problem if we're talking about, say, a court. So she proposes the right to an explanation. If an AI makes a decision that affects your life, you should be entitled to know why it did that. In some places, like the EU, this is already a real legal right. But here's another dilemma. If I own the recruitment software that rejects your resume and you say, explain this, what kind of explanation do you want me to give? Do you want me to tell you how the model works generally? Like, do you want me to show you the code? Or tell you what it did specifically in your case? There might be some practical trade-offs to be made here. If I'm a big company, then I might not have the time to give you individual feedback. The most helpful kind of explanation would probably be what's called a counterfactual one. That's where we say, if you had done this differently, the AI would have given you what you want. Like, if you hadn't spelled the company name wrong on your application, it would have given you the job. That kind of explanation is useful because you can do better next time. Obviously though, if we're giving counterfactual explanations of algorithmic decisions, those counterfactuals need to be true. It needs to be true that if you had spelled the company name right, the AI would have given you the job. Otherwise, that's not actually a useful explanation. And that can present a problem, because a lot of AIs are what's called black box models. They use multiple layers of non-linear programming, and they're so complicated that their outputs are a mystery even to their creators. We could guess that if you spelled the name right, it'd give you the job, but how can we prove that to you? One solution to this is quite fun. Have you ever heard the nursery rhyme about the old lady who swallowed a fly, so she swallowed a spider to catch the fly? It turns out you can kind of do that with AI. If we have a black box model whose behavior we want to explain, we can build a second surrogate model to approximate a simpler version of what the first one did and get counterfactual explanations from that. It's kind of like when police hire actors to do crime scene reenactments and show what probably happened. Like, it's not bulletproof, but it is an option. However, here's another dilemma. Suppose we build an AI whose outputs we know are unfair, like we deliberately build the racism machine, and we put it in charge of our company's recruitment. It's a black box model, so when a candidate of color gets rejected and requests their right to an explanation, we turn to our surrogate model, which tells lies. We build the racism machine, and then we build the Uncle Tom machine, to tell everybody that the racism machine just has some legitimate concerns, and by calling it the racism machine, you're actually silencing artificial voices, which is not very tolerant of you. So you use your right to an explanation, but the explanation you get is bullshit, and you probably don't have the time or expertise to prove it. This process is called fair washing, and it was first proposed by a group of scientists in a paper published in 2019. Not content with establishing the theoretical possibility, they did it. They built an AI they knew was biased. They deliberately built the racism machine, and then they built a second surrogate model that they called Laundry ML to launder the outputs of the first one. Turns out you can make the results seem fair even when you know they're not. Weirdly, after that paper was published, Laundry ML got a job writing for The Telegraph. Okay, how to make ethical AI. We've tried build it better and police it better, and there are options there, but also limitations. Technical limitations, yes, but also there seems to be a deeper problem. I'd like to talk about the penis detection machine. Fair washing isn't just a technical snag. The reason it's an issue is ordinary people wouldn't have the ability to challenge institutions who misuse AI. So not a tech problem, a problem of unequal power. And indeed, a whole suite of problems present themselves when we remember that AI, and all technology, is used in an already imperfect society. A fantastic illustration of this is the penis detection machine. If you've flown on a plane in the last few years, then you've probably seen one. It's the thing that you step into at airport security, and you put your hands up and it goes. Its proper name is the full body scanner, but we in the trans femme community know it as the dick detector, the cock spotter, the wang radar, or the penis detection machine. If you're cisgender, which is to say not transgender, then you might not know this. But just before you step into that scanner, someone on the other side looks at you and then presses one of two buttons, blue or pink. The scanner looks